Welcome to hour number 2 of the morning after, live on this Wednesday on Sports Grid and Sirius XM channel 159. That's the home for Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM, all across the Spiz Grizz network. That's Sports Grid. I am Ben Stevens. It's a championship Wednesday, live right here on the morning after. The final Grand Slam in the world of tennis underway as we speak. The second round of action getting started up in Queens at Arthur Ashe Stadium for the 2022 U.S. Open. Yesterday, though, a couple of the big names on the men's side of the draw underway in their opening round, including the guy that has the second best odds, who has won 5 U.S. Open titles, Rafael Nadal, who was slightly tested last night in his opening round of the 2022 U.S. Open. Rafa actually lost the opening set of his opening round matchup, won the final 3, but went to 4 sets as a minus 10,000 outright favorite to win that opening match. And maybe because of that, Rafael Nadal's odds to win the 2022 U.S. Open men's title actually worked against him. He was plus 380 entering his first round matchup yesterday. Only 30 cents of movement in a negative way against Rafa, but plus 410 on this Wednesday morning on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Daniil Medvedev will be in the second round of action today. A straight set sweep in his opening round. He's the favorite to go back-to-back at the U.S. Open, plus 220. Carlos Alcaraz, his opponent actually retired yesterday, but he was in command of that match. He's plus 550 with the third best price. We've already seen a couple of the big names on the men's side already out, as in Stefanos Tsitsipas and Taylor Fritz, upset in their opening round matchups earlier this week up in Queens. But all eyes tonight, for the second time in 3 days, will be on Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, and what could potentially be her final match ever in the world of tennis as she evolves/retires from the sport that she has done so much for. Serena Williams in her second round matchup, taking on Anett Kontaveit, who is the number 2 overall seed, and the market working against Serena slightly, even from those odds that you saw from yesterday. She is an underdog in this second round, plus 180. That outright price now plus 205 on this Tuesday morning. She is getting 3.5 sets in that set spread, and Anett Kontaveit to win in straight sets, 2-0. That is the shortest possible outcome from that perspective at plus 120. So Serena has her work cut out for her. She is going to keep her tennis career alive through her run up in Queens at the 2022 U.S. Open, booked as the outright underdog. Again, that updated price plus 205 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. But a championship Wednesday, not just for what we are seeing in the world of tennis, but the WNBA Playoffs, the second game of the semifinal series across the W. We start with the reigning WNBA champs, the Chicago Sky, who were upset by the Connecticut Sun in the opening game on Sunday in the Windy City. The Sky, though, expected to bounce back, as you can see from that spread. Chicago laying 4.5 at home. The total is 163.5. It was a low-scoring opening game of this semifinal set between the Sky and the Sun. 68-63 was that final number. Can Chicago find more offense to take back game number 2 and even up this series before we head back to Connecticut? Again, that is what the odds are indicating. Chicago booked as a 4.5-point favorite in game number 2 at home against the Sun today. Quick day welcome to our Sports Grid Radio audience here. The second hour of the morning after, live on this championship Wednesday, if you will, all across the grid. Sirius XM channel 159. All of our terrestrial radio affiliates as well. I am Ben Stevens. The Sky hoping to even up the series against the Sun. Connecticut winning game number 1. An upset as the underdog of around 3.5 points, and Chicago still booked as a 4.5-point favorite for game number 2. Candace Parker went off in game number 1, and Chicago still lost. Is that concerning, or are we confident that Candace will back it up with another stellar performance in game number 2? Candace Parker stuffs the stat sheet pretty much each and every game. Her props for tonight, 14.5. Her assists prop is 4.5. She had 19 points, 18 boards, 5 assists, and 6 blocks in game number 1, albeit in a losing effort for Chicago. We also saw an upset in the opening game of the second round for the Seattle Storm and the Las Vegas Aces. The Storm on the road in the desert. The 1 versus 4 seed. Seattle, that lower seeded team, they get the upset in game 1. But again, much like we are seeing for Chicago and Connecticut, the Aces expected to bounce back tonight, laying 5.5 at home with a loftier total of 169 in a hook. It is very interesting to see all of the numbers here for Seattle and Las Vegas because the Aces are booked as the game 2 favorites tonight, laying 5.5. Favorite on the money line, at least to even up this series outright at 1 game apiece. Yet entering game number 2, it's the Storm booked as the series outright favorite at minus 115. It's a relatively short number, but as you can see, the most likely outcome in the series correct score market for how this series plays out is Las Vegas in 5 games at plus 210. The Aces entered the series as a greater than $2 outright favorite. Now it's Seattle entering game 2 as the series outright favorite, but booked as the road underdog, getting 5.5 points in Las Vegas tonight. We make sense of all of those numbers, and we look forward to a glorious day in the state of Kansas and what will be a glorious season in college basketball with Jon Rothstein up next here on the Morning After on this Wednesday.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
In the landscape of college sports, some things remain the same.
College football today.
Of Alabama in winning SEC championship.
It's the island of misfit toys.
Fantasy sports today.
You have to understand that.
Can they survive those first 4 games? They can go 2-2.
Pro football today.
This franchise, they are comical. Now, I'm not making light of the injuries. This is a brutal rash.
In-game live, all access.
You can take the money line.
And with sports book, if you shop around, you can get it at 133. But that's my best bet on the night, Joe. So that's the one I'm going big.
In-game live, prime time.
I'm a bit nostalgic. I'm going with an international, Jason Day and Sergio Garcia.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing elimination?
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Going for 50 home runs now with still a lot of room left here. The player special is out there. Over 61.5 home runs is plus 285. I know the Yankees lost, and yes, that matters. But Aaron Judge is just having a special season.
50 is a huge marker number there. He gets that last night. And then we're trying to take a look at where that's going to be in the future. 59.5 would be up next because 60 is the big marker.
Only on Sports Grid. Fantasy sports today.
His ADP somewhere around the 8th round. He's a borderline starter for most in fantasy football, but I tend to agree with you. I think that of that range of quarterbacks between like 10 and 15, he seems pretty safe.
He does seem pretty safe, and you also know that you're going to have some good spike weeks with him. You know, when Van Jefferson scores one of those long touchdowns, the 3-touchdown Cooper Kupp games.
The Sports Grid Network.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports with your daily numbers game. We're here at the USTA Tennis Center for the beginning of the U.S. Open, but right now, let's talk gambling, California style. $357 million is being invested in gambling referendums. Prop 26 on the ballot allows for gaming at Indian casinos and their designees. Prop 27 will allow remote gaming by the big guys, the FanDuels and DraftKings and BetMGM and otherwise, as long as it's in concert with the Indian tribes and Indian casinos. I think people behind me are rushing to the polls. Don't you see them? But the bottom line of this is if California's spending all of that money, including the politicians who are spending the money on the homeless and infrastructure before it's even approved, you can bet there is a special significance to this approval. Looks like California will be added to the roster. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Daily Numbers Game.
It might be the final day in August, but it's never too early to talk about college basketball. And that's what we do here, live on a Wednesday on the morning after, because it's a huge day in the state of Kansas. And if it's a big day to talk college basketball, that means we need one person joining the show, Jon Rothstein, back on the morning after, joining us here on behalf of FanDuel to preview a big college basketball season on the horizon and a big day in the state of Kansas. Jon, how many days until the start of a new college basketball season?
There are 68 days until the start of the 22-23 college basketball season. Not that anybody's counting. And Ben, I also want to say that it's great to be here on the inaugural edition of your show.
The inaugural edition, at least maybe as we look forward to the 2022-23 college basketball season. FanDuel is launching today in Kansas, Jon. And, of course, the Jayhawks, the reigning national championship winners in the sport of men's college basketball. So let's look at the odds for this upcoming season. Gonzaga and Houston, co-favorites right now, Jon, on the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 850. The price for the Cougs and the Zags. Do you agree with Gonzaga in Houston being listed as co-favorites where we stand here on the final day of August, 68 days away from the start of a new college basketball campaign?
Well, right now at collegehoopstoday.com in the Rothstein 45, I have North Carolina number 1 overall. I have Gonzaga number 2, and I have Houston number 4. The one team that isn't listed on the top 10 right there that we're looking at is Creighton, who I have in the 3 holes. So I think that is a team to really look at in terms of a team that might be off the radar in terms of national title odds, but might have the requisites to have one of the best seasons in school history. I fully understand why people are questioning North Carolina being the favorite because of the loss of Brady Manick, but North Carolina, I thought, did as good as it possibly could by replacing him with Northwestern grad transfer Pete Nance. Last season, Ben, Pete Nance at Northwestern shot over 45% from 3, made 42 triples from long distance.
And that will be a huge addition for North Carolina this year. The Tar Heels, the 3rd best price right now to win a national championship at 10-1. Kansas, Jon, the 4th best number at 14-1, on the path for Bill Self and company to repeat as national champions. How do you think this new season outlook is for the Kansas Jayhawks entering 2022-23?
Incredibly optimistic when you think about what Kansas lost from last season. Ochai Agbaji is gone. Christian Brown is gone. David McCormick is no longer a member of Kansas's program. The best way I can describe Kansas's prognosis for the upcoming season is this. Bill Self doesn't have what he had, but he still has enough. DeJuan Harris is back. Jalen Wilson is back. And I know that Bill Self is very excited about the potential of Texas Tech transfer Kevin McCullough. I think because Kansas is coached by Bill Self, we are giving Kansas the benefit of the doubt. But right now, if you're asking me to pick a favorite for the Big 12, it's not Kansas, it's the Baylor Bears. But right now, Ben, again, at collegehoopstoday.com and the Rothstein 45, I have 4 teams from the Big 12 ranked in the top 12 of those 45 rankings. Kansas, Baylor, Texas, and TCU. Jamie Dixon's team returns 5 starters from last year's team that nearly beat Arizona in the round of 32. They are one of 3 teams among the top 45 teams that I've ranked that return all 5 starters. The other 2, Virginia and Dayton.
TCU in the top 12 of the Rothstein 45 for 2022.
Top 10.
23 of top 10 even. Look at that.
They're
the
number
Horned
10.
Frogs.
Texas is 12, yeah.
I like it because we remember that round of 32 game, an instant classic against Arizona to end out the Horned Frogs run in the NCAA tournament last year. But a sensational game pressing that top seed in the South region in the Arizona Wildcats. Jon, you mentioned it. 68 days away from the start of a college basketball season. And early and often in the college basketball campaign, we get some notable matchups in that non-conference slate. On an Air Force carrier this year, we will see Michigan State and Gonzaga. You listed some of your favorite games that you're most looking forward to early on in that non-con slate. Which is the number one, Jon? If you had to pick one, which is that top game you're most looking forward to?
You know, it's obviously going to be Gonzaga, Michigan State, 2 heavyweight programs. Gonzaga, I've ranked number 2 in the country right now behind North Carolina. This is not a vintage Michigan State team, but it's still coached by Tom Izzo. But You know, Tom Izzo, Ben, has always said repeatedly that he'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. That mantra has taken things to a new level this season. Think about right now, the first month of the season for Tom Izzo and Michigan State. You go to San Diego, you play Gonzaga on an aircraft carrier. You then go and play Kentucky in the Champions Classic in Indianapolis. You then will host Villanova in the Gavitt games in East Lansing, you know, a top 15 team in year one under Kyle Neptune. Then you're going to go to the PK 85. Your first game is against Alabama, and then you're going to play the winner-loser of UConn or Oregon. And then you have to go to Notre Dame as part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Tom Izzo, obviously, will always schedule as hard as anybody in college basketball. But this year, with a team that lost Max Christie, that lost Gabe Brown, is literally pushing a boulder up a hill.
MSU, 55-1 to win the national championship this upcoming season. In an era of change, especially for college basketball coaches, Tom Izzo remains a constant. John, you know this about me. I'm Big Ten Ben, and right now it's Michigan, in fact, of the Big Ten teams with the best price to win a national championship in 2022-23. It's been over 2 decades since the Big Ten won a national championship in men's college basketball. Michigan has the best price, 35-1. Indiana and Illinois right behind, though, at both 40-1 to win a national title this upcoming season. John, if you were to power rank the Big Ten teams right now, who gets the top spot in that conference?
Well, I think, you know, if we're looking too at the Big Ten in terms of a broad scope, first off, I think this is a conference that has had an incredible passage in terms of personnel. 15 of the top 20 scorers from a year ago in the Big Ten are no longer in the conference, and the top returning scoring perimeter player is Northwestern guard Boo Buie. I am somebody, especially in the age of immediate eligibility, that is going to look at player attention as being the most important part of any program. Indiana returns 90.9% of its scoring from last year's team that made the NCAA tournament and lost to St. Mary's. Right now, the Big Ten goes through Bloomington.
Xavier Johnson, Trace Jackson Davis, and 49 other states, it's just basketball. In Indiana, it's a way of life. And in Kansas, basketball is huge as well. The Kansas kickoff on the FanDuel Sportsbook. $100 in free bets once you enroll at the FanDuel Sportsbook. John, it's a great deal for everybody to build that excitement for college basketball season, college football, the NFL. Rothstein, if you could pick one venue to watch college basketball in the state of Kansas, would it be in the Little Apple in Manhattan? Would it be at the Fog Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence? Or might it even be in Wichita to take down a game for the Shockers? Which one are you picking?
They're all outstanding venues. You have to go with Fog Allen Fieldhouse, obviously the cathedral of college basketball. But I'll tell you what, the Octagon of Doom in, you know, Manhattan has always been a formidable home court advantage. And I think building that will be one of the main keys to Jerome Tang making Kansas State competitive in the Big 12.
John, do you want to use any of that $100 in free bets? Do you want any of my advice for this college football season, or are you just strictly college basketball?
I mean, you know me, Ben. I'm thinking about college basketball 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. And as far as college football goes, like the rest of the other sports in society, I'll deal with them socially.
Jon Rothstein right now, out on vacation and still considering how many bids the Big East is going to get in 2022-23. Quickly here, John, how many from the Big East?
I think the Big East, even without, obviously, Justin Moore healthy for Villanova, even with Jay Wright now no longer in coaching, has a chance to be the deepest and most balanced rendition it's been since realignment. I think the league has a real chance to get 7 teams in the NCAA tournament in 2023. Ben, always great to be with you, and regardless of what anybody else says, you did good for your first day.
Thank you so much. We're grabbing a beer soon, John. More the morning after next.
Yeah.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. Pregame. Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the best slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Gam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's game time decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
The morning after.
Do you believe the Commodores can at least be a pesky team within the SEC this season?
I've been saying it forever that Vandy is not a continental United States type of team. They needed to get off the mainland to really find their mojo. And boy, did they ever in that third quarter against Hawaii. I mean, look, they are in a very tough spot in SEC play. They're still trying to win their first SEC game in the 2020s decade. That's what we're talking about
here. The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Going for 50 home runs now with still a lot of room left here. The player special is out there. Over 61 and a half home runs is plus 285. I know the Yankees lost, and yes, that matters. But Aaron Judge is just having a special season.
50 is a huge marker number there. He gets that last night. And then we're trying to take a look at where that's going to be in the future. 59 and a half would be up next because 60 is the big marker.
Only on Sports Grid.
A Major League Baseball breakdown up right now on the morning after, live on this Wednesday on Sports Grid with one of the finest bright young baseball minds you will find covering the entire sport of MLB. Aram Leighton joins the show once again, the founder of Just Baseball Media, a co-host of the Just Baseball Show alongside our other good friend and Jack McMullen. Aram Leighton, you are back here on the morning after. It is the final day of the month of August. Tomorrow is September. The month following that is October. This is primetime baseball. We need your expertise and insight, so thank you for joining us here on the morning after.
Oh, thanks for having me. I feel like the last month is kind of a lull, and then we hit that final stretch here, and I'm really excited for the final playoff push.
Just about 35 games remaining for most teams around Major League Baseball. And one of the first games that we have in the day baseball slate on this Wednesday, Aram, is a battle under the Texas sun. You have the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. Unsurprisingly, the Astros booked as the road favorite in Fort Worth against the Rangers. Christian Javier getting the start, minus 142 on that money line for Houston. Right now, Aram, Houston has the best record in the American League. They continue to find ways of winning baseball games, much to the chagrin possibly of most of the other baseball fans across the sport. What is the key to success for the Astros this year in 2022?
They really just don't have a hole. I think that's the big thing, right? You look at who they're pitching today, Christian Javier, someone that they've moved back to the bullpen over the last couple of outings just to, whether it was to preserve innings or whatever they were deciding to do. They have so many pitchers that they have the liberty of taking one of the best arms so far this season and just saying, hey, yeah, you can go to the bullpen, you can be a swingman today. He makes the start today, and he's been dynamite all season long. You look at the offense, they crush righties, they hit lefties even better. They've defended really well this year. Their lineup 1 through 9, besides maybe Martin Maldonado, who's having the best offensive season still that we've seen from him, has given plenty of offense. They go get Christian Vasquez, they go get Trey Mancini. This team is pretty much just flawless, and you just don't get a break through that lineup.
You saw those odds right there, 83 and 47, the record right now for the Astros, plus 165, the AL pennant favorites, and plus 380 to win the World Series, the second best price, only behind the Dodgers. Now, Aram, we focused on this all season long. The short distinction between the Yankees and the Astros and their bid for an AL pennant. Right now, Houston plus 165. The Yankees only 10 cents behind at plus 175. Where do you think the run to an American League pennant runs through? Is it Houston or is it New York?
Well, you remember last time I was on, the odds were a little different. You were getting a bit more value for Houston than New York. And obviously with New York faltering as of late, things have changed a little bit. I feel even stronger about the opinion that it's Houston's pennant to lose in the AL. And that's not just because of the Yankees' struggles of late. I do think the Yankees are going to get right to a degree with their pitching coming together a little bit, and also Harrison Bader coming off the IL, which I think is really going to help them in the outfield, and also just replacing at-bats that have been going to Aaron Hicks and some other guys. But just the Astros are just too good. And even with Verlander hitting the IL, it seems more precautionary. The rest of the team is just too darn good. They're going to call up somebody like Hunter Brown, a top 100 prospect who's been one of the best pitching prospects in baseball this year, to fill in if they need innings as a reliever or a spot start as well. This team is just too good top to bottom. I think Houston, they were there last year, obviously came up a little bit short, but I think they're going to find their way back to the World Series again.
83 and 47 for the Astros. The Yankees are 79 and 51. That is a 4-game lead for Houston for the top seed in the American League postseason, which might mean the Astros host that eventual ALCS that we all expect between the Yanks and the Stros. Speaking of the Yankees, they're taking on an American League West team today out in California in Anaheim against the Angels. The Yankees victorious yesterday. They send Garrett Cole to the mound today. They are more than a $2 favorite. Aram, you've mentioned the struggles for the Yankees in that starting rotation. Garrett Cole has seen some struggles throughout this season. Do you still have true belief, though, in Garrett Cole as the ace of that Yankee starting staff?
Man, I think that's the $300 million question, right? Because every time I want to say, man, where does Garrett Cole stand? He comes out and he shoves. But it seems like there's a level of Garrett Cole where he goes out against the A's and he can take care of business, right? He goes 7 1/3, punches out 11 against them. But in those bigger games where you want a little bit more, he seems to just come up a bit short. I will say he bounced back after getting shelled by the Mariners and shut them down. So it's been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde season for Cole, and it seems like in those big games, sometimes he comes up a bit short. But you kind of have to die on that hill if you're the Yankees. One, because that's your guy, your $300 million guy, and two, they don't really have any other options. I think Cole is capable, but I don't know if I'm feeling really good laying coin on Garrett Cole in a must-win game, if I'm being totally honest.
So a New York baseball team out in Southern California, the Yankees and the Angels. A New York baseball team hosting a California team in the Mets and the Dodgers. And we know that Jacob deGrom is a bona fide ace and one of the best pitchers on planet Earth. And because of that, the Dodgers might be booked as an underdog for just the 4th time this season, plus 136, as LA sends out Tyler Anderson on DeGrom Day up in Queens at Citi Field. We have this series this week, Aram, between the Mets and the Dodgers. Is this a postseason preview between Los Angeles and New York?
Man, you'd think so, right? I think that's the most likely scenario. But here's the thing with the NL East is you're going to have the Braves and the Mets with a showdown here to try to avoid and dodge the Dodgers, because you don't want to play them in a 5-game set. So that's what makes it really interesting. And at the same time, both of those teams are really darn good, and they can catch the Dodgers a bit off guard in a 5-game set, so it's possible. But realistically, these are the two best teams in the National League right now, especially with the two-headed monster of Scherzer and DeGrom at the top. But I wouldn't count out the Braves both for the division and also in an upset in the playoffs because, again, reigning champs that are really good and seem to be playing their best baseball, and every rookie they call up seems to be just ready to go and majorly impact if we look at Michael Harris as well as Vaughn Grissom. But today's game is going to be interesting. I would sprinkle on the best team in baseball being the Dodgers. I know it's DeGrom, but if you look at what the Mets have done against lefties this year, I know they've made some moves to go get lefties. Their OPS is 50 points lower against southpaws. Tyler Anderson's been pretty darn good this year. And look, DeGrom's really darn good, but he's not perfect. Nobody is. I think it's always interesting when you can get the best team in baseball at that kind of money line.
I think it's a great point, and you can see it represented in the total in terms of the lack of offense expected today up in Queens. It's 6.5 between DeGrom and Anderson. Quick question about LA right now. Tony Gonsolin just put on the IL with a forearm strain. We know that Walker Buehler is out for the year. Clayton Kershaw is getting healthier. Dustin May is on his way back, but Tyler Anderson might be the most successful starter on the Dodgers staff right now, Aram. Are you concerned at all by LA's pitching as they have those very high hopes as the World Series favorites entering October?
You know, it's funny. With the Dodgers, it just seems like they just have an endless supply of pitching. Of course, it's not what we were hoping for because Walker Buehler was on his way to asserting himself as one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball, and losing him, you can't replace that. Gonsolin has been, a Cy Young contender this year. Losing him, that's difficult to replace. But Dustin May was on the brink of also asserting himself as one of the best right-handers in baseball before he went down with Tommy John surgery, and since returning has looked fantastic. You lose Gonsolin, but you plug Kershaw back in. He's about to be returning for the Dodgers, and I think he's going to kind of replace what you're getting from Gonsolin. Shorter starts, but pretty dominant short starts that you feel pretty confident every 5th day he's going to give you 5, maybe 6 really good innings. And then the Dodgers have a litany of prospects that are close to big league ready that I think can really help them. We've already seen Ryan Pepe a little bit this year, but Bobby Miller is one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, has started to really come around in AAA. And then they've got an underrated guy named Gavin Stone, who's been one of the best pitchers in all of the minor leagues this season. He's also succeeding in AAA, another guy that they could potentially promote as well. These Dodgers just find a way to plug and play, and it's ridiculous, the embarrassment of riches they have over there in LA.
And that's why they're 90-38 straight up this year, 52 games above 500. They have a 9-game advantage over the Mets for that best record in the National League. Speaking of the Mets, they're trying to hold off the Braves in the National League East, Arm, as you pointed out. New York, a 3-game lead, minus 440 in those divisional odds right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Do you think, Arm, Atlanta has enough to make a run to catch the Mets for the top spot in the NL East?
Man, I love this Braves team, and I think they're going to play well enough to theoretically catch the Mets. The problem is I don't think the Mets are going to be running slow enough to be caught. They have a pretty soft schedule the rest of the way, including 6 games against the Nationals, 6 games against the Pirates, and another 5 against the Marlins, 3 against the Cubs, and 3 against the A's, I think, the rest of the way for the Mets. So they'd have to really fall apart. I think the Braves are going to play great baseball and keep up, but who's going to beat the Mets for the losses to pile up and the Braves to be able to kind of catch up there? The schedule is really soft and favorable for New York, and I think that's ultimately going to allow them to kind of stave off what is a really good Braves team that's been playing at a very high level.
And you see those records right there. You see the standings in the National League wild card. Even if Atlanta can't catch New York in the National League East, the Braves will certainly be in the National League postseason. A 7.5-game lead for that top spot in the NL wildcard. Aram Leighton from Just Baseball Media breaking it down across the bigs, as he always does, getting us set for the push in September. Aram, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you as always, man.
We are just 1 day away from week number 1 of the college football season officially starting. Anthony Treash joins the show up next to preview it all.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
In the landscape of college sports, some things remain the same.
College
And
football
that's the dominance
today.
of Alabama in winning SEC championship.
It's the island of misfit toys.
Fantasy sports
So
today.
You have to understand that.
Can
Whereas
they survive those first 4 games? They can go 2-2.
Pro football
What's happened
today.
to this franchise, they are comical. Now, I'm not making light of the injuries. This is a brutal rash.
In-game
you
live
can take
all
the points,
access.
you can take the money line, and
FanDuel Sportsbook, if you shop around, you can get it at 133. But that's my best bet on the night, Joe. So that's the one I'm going big.
In-game live, prime time.
I'm feeling a bit nostalgic. I'm going with an international, Jason Day and Sergio Garcia.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing elimination?
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio. Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
The morning after.
What did you make of this decision by San Francisco to retain Jimmy Garoppolo, have him on the roster in the QB room for 2022?
Well, what we heard the entire offseason was how the 49ers were trying to shop Jimmy G the entire time, but they weren't hearing back great offers. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be there for the whole entire season. As you know, it gives them about 2 more months before the trade deadline, and they could actually move him before then.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Panthers-Browns is a 2.5-point spread now, so the line has moved a little bit. In fact, maybe you can consider it a decent amount, because this was a 2.5 Cleveland line for quite some time, which puzzled us. What we now have, the Panthers laying just under the field goal total here, very low, 41.5.
There's a lot to dissect on what the actual Carolina Panthers are going to be.
Only on Sports Grid. Fantasy sports today.
Cam Akers was one of the bigger stories of last year, returning very early from an ACL injury. And you know, what a really great story it was, but unfortunately didn't look very good when he came back. Now, a lot can be attributed to that, and I guess that's why we'll do a deeper dive here. His ADP is 18 in terms of running backs taken. His positional ranking is 18, and overall is going approximately in the 3rd round.
The Sports Grid Network.
In just over 30 hours from right now, week number 1 of the college football season officially begins. The entire country now into the fold after the small appetizer of a week 0 Saturday slate this past weekend, helping us get set for when all of college football officially starts. PFF's lead college analyst, Anthony Treash, joins the show now here on the morning after, live on this Wednesday. Anthony, we have made it. We have arrived. College football all across the country is about to begin. How would you describe your excitement level?
It's hard to describe. It feels like this day would never come. It's a little disappointing because I have a wedding to go to on Saturday. And
Anthony.
I don't want to say anything to
Anthony.
the bride and groom, but it's like, what are you thinking? Like, why would you schedule week 1 of college football? But I'm still going to be streaming on my phone the entire way.
Okay, good. Listen, if you don't want to be friends with them following this weekend, that would make perfect sense to me. I think they need to understand they have until August 20th to book any weddings. Labor Day weekend, that's when college football starts. Save that for earlier in the summer, although I hope you have a wonderful time at the wedding this weekend. But at least there are some really great games featuring ranked teams leading us up until Saturday, including tomorrow night. For the first time in more than a decade, one of the most historic rivalries is back in our lives. The backyard brawl between Pittsburgh and West Virginia. At a pep rally last night, Pitt's new quarterback, Keaton Slovis, said F West Virginia as he left the stage. You can tell this rivalry runs deep, and the line now working in favor of the reigning ACC champs, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Greater than a touchdown, Anthony, now 7.5 in favor of Pitt. I mentioned the quarterback in Keaton Slovis. He's a former USC quarterback. JT Daniels getting the start for West Virginia on the other side, also a former USC quarterback. How do you break down that QB matchup between the two former Trojans?
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought we would have been here, back in 2019 when Keaton Slovis took over for JT Daniels, who had a season-ending injury there. It's an interesting quarterback battle. And, with this line, it's almost one that makes you want to stay away and just watch and enjoy the rivalry, right? Because, these quarterbacks are trying to overcome some down years, right? Keaton Slovis started out hot, and he just kind of stayed there, though, relative to his freshman production over the last 3 years at USC. Just consistently good quarterback, but he never made that jump to elite status. And he's trying to prove he can be that elite quarterback. And I think he still has a lot of untapped potential. I think just the offense in general at USC kind of didn't really show his greatest strengths there, put him in bad situations at times. I mean, I still think he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football. Just the way he can maneuver the pocket and, stay calm in long developing plays. I mean, you see the traits there, right? Not necessarily the elite physical tools you see with some quarterbacks, but I still think he can perform at a very, very high level at the collegiate level. It's just, how does he kind of gel with this new offense, right? Going to be completely different for him there. How is his relationship with the receivers? I'm excited to see what he can do there, especially with Kanata Mumpfield, the Akron transfer, very high on him. And then JT Daniels, who I've always said is a little bit more overrated than over the last couple of years, when he was at Georgia. I think everybody points to that one game he had against Mississippi State back in 2020. Outside of that, we just really have not seen him perform at a quality level, consistently there. So, I'll be interested to see how this quarterbacks kind of, gel and mesh in their new environments. I think Keaton Slovis is in a much better situation. JT Daniels has a very good offensive line in front of him, but just really lacking those, weapons at the receiver position. So, I'm curious to see how he's going to kind of work with that. And, of course, with West Virginia's defense, too, that's something I'm looking forward to just because they lost so many guys to the transfer portal. I think it's going to be this matchup's just full of unknown, and we're going to get a lot of these this year just with all these transfers. But this one's a lot of unknown there. So I'm going to stay away from the betting perspective of this. I think if you have to take a side, it's West Virginia at this point just because, Pitt 7.5 over that key number. It's a little worrisome, but I'm going to stay away from this one. I still think Pitt's going to win this one. It's just question is, how much? And I think it's going to be Keaton Slovis that kind of decides that.
And the line opened at 6.5 in favor of Pittsburgh. It has worked past that touchdown number. Pitt last year, 10-4 against the spread, one of the best cover teams in all of college football. Pitt enters 2022 ranked 17th in the country, another top 15 team in action on Thursday night as well. 12th ranked Oklahoma State hosts Central Michigan, Anthony, and the Cowboys a 22.5-point favorite. Last year, the reason the Pokes played in the Big 12 title game, inches away from a conference championship victory and maybe a spot in the college football playoff, was because of that defense. But the DC and Jim Knowles is now the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Oklahoma State brings in Derek Mason, and last year the Cowboys had a top 10 defensive unit. Do you think that defense, Anthony, will still be the key to success for the Cowboys in 2022?
I think if any side of the ball is going to get Oklahoma far, the defense, I don't really see anything on the offense that makes me confident in saying that they're going to be, even in performing at a slightly above average level. Defensively, losing Jim Knowles hurts. Like you said, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. Just his track record of growth and improvement. Every single stop of the way, he's grown each single year, and now he's going to try and do that for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And, even too with Oklahoma State, in addition to losing Jim Knowles, you lose two quality outside corners there, right? I mean, Jarek Bernard-Converse in particular. That's a pretty crushing loss there. Or Tanner McAllister kind of being the key one too there. He was the third safety there in that three-high system for Oklahoma State, the slot corner, left with Jim Knowles to Ohio State there. So, and even Malcolm Rodriguez, the outball linebacker, he was, I think, probably the best player on that defense last year. Now with the Detroit Lions, it's, they just lost a lot of key guys there. I think that defensive front, that defensive line, with Derek Mason, they're going to wreak havoc. They're going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, but I just worry about how they can cover in that secondary. So I think this is going to be a good defense. Is it going to be that special elite defense? I'm not so sure. I think it could be a top 10 group, but the level that they were at last year, I mean, they were firmly, I think, probably the second best defense in college football behind Georgia, who had just an absurd outlier year defensively. So, I think Oklahoma State is a team that could possibly have a down year, just given their expectations right now as the 12th ranked team, as you said there. So, I think this matchup, obviously, I think they're going to win it. I mean, they're up a 3-touchdown favorite. But I would think Central Michigan, they could possibly cover that number. And I like the under in this game, too, just because the offenses, I think, could have some struggles there. Oklahoma State, I think their pass rush is going to be good. But I don't think this, Central Michigan offense is going to be able to take advantage of the weakness of the secondary. And same thing with Oklahoma State. That offense, and very, very worrisome. Spencer Sanders, quarterback, very experienced player. But, again, we've never really seen it from him. The downfield passing is just consistently inconsistent there. So, I think Oklahoma State season long-wise, I think they could underwhelm. But in this one, they're going to take care of business. But from a betting perspective, I think there's some intrigue here with Central Michigan covering that 3-touchdown number in the under as well, which was, I think, 59.5.
Last year in the Big 12 championship game, it was Oklahoma State facing off against Baylor. The Bears ultimately winning that conference title in the Big 12. They have these same odds entering this year, tied for the third best price at plus 550. But Anthony, Oklahoma is the favorite at plus 200. Brent Venables takes over as the head man in Norman. How do you evaluate the Big 12 conference entering 2022?
It's tough. Man, it's really, really tough because you look at Oklahoma and Texas, the number 1 and 2 teams, and you could just see a lot of scenarios where they just really fall flat. And, you look at Oklahoma, again, it's just a new regime, all of these transfers. How does everything come together, right? Dylan Gabriel coming off of the season-ending injury at UCF, the new quarterback transferred in. He has very good experience with Jeff Lebby, the new offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. Jeff Lebby was actually a recruiter, quarterback coach at UCF his first year there a few years ago. But, again, how does everything really come together? That's the big question there. I still think there's some weaknesses with that Oklahoma defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma maybe loses a few games that they shouldn't and kind of derails things a little bit. You have Texas, too, who, man, you got to feel for him. You lose Isaiah Nayer, the Wyoming transfer, the wide receiver. He was expected to be the wide receiver 2 for him after Xavier Worthy, just a big body, physical guy that could win downfield. But blew his ACL in the first scrimmage that they had. And then Junior Angelo, their best offensive lineman by far, a guard, also tore his ACL in that first game. So you lose 2 key players on offense, and specifically with that offensive line. It was a worry before. Now it's even more of a worry. And I think you look at Quinn Ewers and, can he be everything that everyone's making him out to be? We've all seen the practice videos. We've seen the 7-on-7. We've seen the high school highlights. But can he do it in a collegiate game? We still haven't seen it. Hasn't taken a drop back at the collegiate level. So there's just a lot of mystery with these top teams. And I talked about Oklahoma State. You could talk about Baylor, too. Last year I thought Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator, he should have won the Broyles Award. That was the best assistant coach in college football. What he did with the talent that he had was remarkable. Right? Because he didn't have the best roster, best offense in college football just from a talent perspective, but he made that into a very strong group. Can he sustain that again? That's the big question there. And I think that could possibly take a step back as well. So there's a lot of just, unknown with those top teams. And I think from a betting perspective, probably just got to throw some, I don't know, I'd probably stay away and go another direction. If you really wanted to, probably Texas. But again, I think it's also fair to say, you could bet Texas to win the Big 12, but you could also bet under 8.5 wins because their ceiling is high, but their floor is very, very low. So I think that's one of the most interesting conferences in college football this year, no doubt about it.
And all those teams that you saw in plus money, it's different than a lot of the other Power 5 conferences, including the Big 10, where Ohio State has the best odds of any team to win any conference in all of college football. Power 5, Group of 5, it does not matter. And Ohio State is a 17.5-point favorite on Saturday night in a top 5 tilt against Notre Dame. Anthony, I hope in between the dance floor and the ceremony at the wedding on Saturday, you can watch this game because a 17.5-point spread for a top 5 matchup is bonkers. How does Notre Dame try to cover that large number against what is expected to be one of, if not the most potent offense in the country in the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I'm not missing a second of this game. I'm going to be streaming the entire way through at this wedding reception. But yeah, I think, maybe there's a reasonable argument to be made that Notre Dame shouldn't be the 5th-ranked team in college football. But 17.5 points, that's pretty steep. I think you look at Ohio State, I think they are the second-best team in college football, but I get that they have Jim Knowles as their defensive coordinator, but again, this isn't like in the pros. It's difficult in the NFL for players to jump ship from team to team, bring in a new coach, and play underneath a new system. But at the collegiate level, it's significantly more difficult, right? How can these players, perform in this game, and how are we going to see it in week 1, right? Because it's going to be completely different. I mean, we're talking opposite ends of the spectrum, right? I mean, this used to be a static, single high defense. Now this is a very deceiving defense that mixes a lot of stuff up, right? They're not so much just doing the same stuff every single time. So it's going to be a completely different form. So how does this defense really kind of perform? That's a big question mark there. I think offensively, I'm not going to sit here and say there's a lot of reason to doubt, but can CJ Stroud kind of be a perfect quarterback, right? Can he be flawless every single down? Because last year, look at a few different games where it's like, okay, he kind of fell flat a little bit. Michigan, Nebraska, Oregon, Minnesota, it was a little inconsistent there, right? And so I think if you get the defense maybe struggling, CJ Stroud struggling a little bit, 17.5 is a big number there. So I think Notre Dame's defense is an elite group. I think it really kind of all falls on Tyler Buchner. They're the new quarterback for the Irish. I think he's a very good athlete, good runner, but can he throw the ball? But I still think Notre Dame, I'm taking the points here. Just too much for me.
PFF's Anthony Treash, thank you for the breakdown. More TMA up next.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play less.
Aaron Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like
Fantasy Sports
the
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell Coast to
CBG,
Coast.
that's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time
Kind of
decisions.
bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live
I
all
like
access.
Vandy. I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take it 4.5.
In-game live, prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live,
All
overtime.
done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
The morning after.
How does Chicago respond in Game 2 tomorrow against Connecticut?
They just got to get better overall play offensively. Only held to 63 points. Obviously, Connecticut is a really good defensive team. And if it wasn't for Candace Parker, folks, with 19, 18, 5, 4, and 6 blocks, that would have been a double-digit home loss. They got to get better play out of Allie Quigley.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Cooper Kupp is one that I tend to doubt, Davis. Why do I doubt? I look at huge numbers in sports for anyone and say they can't do that again.
Cooper Kupp is a phenomenal player. He's got multiple 1,000-yard seasons under his belt, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. A little bit of a downturn for him in 2020. Then the team trades for Matthew Stafford, and far and away, Cooper Kupp was the biggest beneficiary.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Is that what we're seeing here right now? A fade of Taiwan Walker despite being home here against the Dodgers?
That's exactly what we're seeing here, because if you take a look at Taijuan Walker, who we expected many more bigger things here in 2022 than we've gotten out of him, particularly over the last 30 days, which seems like you're right. Every time Taijuan Walker's start comes up, we sort of try to fade that way or say, oh, maybe it's a chance for the game to get over, or at least for the other team to get some base hits here.
Only on Sports Grid.
Closing out our 2 hours together here, live on the morning after on this Wednesday on Sports Grid. Sirius XM channel 159, all across the Sports Grid network as well. I am Ben Stevens. I cannot wait for tomorrow's show, the unofficial opening of college football week number 1. A huge Thursday night slate, multiple ranked teams in action. We are underway in week number 1, just over 30 hours from now. You can guarantee that my best bet for tomorrow's show is going to be a college football bet. But before we get there, it's a huge Wednesday in the world of sports, especially from that postseason championship perspective and in the Wnba Playoffs. Yes, the 2022 U.S. Open is currently going on, but we have the second game of the semifinal series in both matchups in the Wnba Playoffs. We focus on the reigning WNBA champions and one of the best players in the entirety of the league, Candace Parker. So before we say farewell, before we say goodbye, it's time for a WNBA playoff best bet. It is time for bye, bye, bye. Now, the Sky lost game number 1 at home against the Connecticut Sun. They were booked as a 5.5-point favorite. The Sun won outright by 5, pulling off the upset, taking a 1-0 series lead. Now, the Sky are expected to respond tonight on their home floor in game number 2. Chicago booked as a 5.5-point favorite. And although it was in a losing effort, Candace Parker went off in the opening game of this series. 19 points, 18 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 assists. Her points prop tonight is 15.5, up from overnight to 14.5. I don't mind. I am taking the over. If Chicago responds, Candace Parker is going to lead the charge. She has gone over this number in 2 of the 4 games so far this postseason, averaging 15.5 points. Candace Parker over 15.5 for her points prop tonight in game number 2. The morning after each and every weekday. It starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I'm Ben Stevens. We'll talk tomorrow. College football week 1 starts.